your charity to these foundations, and they'll distribute, that money to non-for-profits in that geographical area. To my knowledge, I'm not aware of any Islamic foundations. Here, as a donor, you don't have to manage anything, just cutting a check to the foundation, less restrictions than a private foundation. The main thing is they're geographically limited, like Princeton, Edison. They're not going to be all throughout the U.S. And they may not contribute to your charity. So that could be another issue. Okay, now we're going to go into donor-advised funds. These are very popular. Does anybody have any mutual funds in their portfolio? Okay, do you guys know what a mutual fund is? Okay, well, let's go through this process. Actually, there's another handout for this, I think, on the very next page. It should be there. Yeah, I think he's got it. Do you guys see it? Do you guys have it? I think you need one, right? Someone took them for the ladies. Did he ever come? Oh, here they are. Okay, so you have it. So I'm going to go to the PowerPoint. Okay. Vanguard offers these. Fidelity offers this. All the mutual, well, not all, but most mutual fund companies offer these. You're giving property to that fund company, like a Vanguard or a Fidelity. So there, you can choose which fund to put it into, and you can direct them to give distributions as you deem necessary to anyone. Any qualified charity you can give to, you can specify. The terms are very minimal. I think Vanguard, it's one distribution every 3 years, has to be at least $500. I think Fidelity is less than that. I think it's $50 distribution every 3 years. So if you're putting $10,000 in there, those are very nominal amounts. So you may want to keep the money in that fund so it appreciates. You may want to just not support that charity. So I guess what I'm saying is you have more control. You specify when you want to have the funds distributed to a charity. And they're low amounts. You don't have to give like $10,000 or $20,000. Just to go back, this is an important fact. You have what's called advisory rights. You can advise a charity that you want to donate to MCMC. You can't force them, but 99% of the time they're going to give it to where you specify, unless that charity is not qualified or is having some kind of issues. So here's what happens. You open up an account and you contribute assets. Could be cash, could be art, anything of value. In return, they're going to set up an account for you in their mutual fund that's going to be combined with other donor accounts. And you call them up or you fill out a form and you specify, please cut a check to Charity A, and they'll do that. The one thing you should be aware of is once you contribute the funds, you cannot receive them back. So it's an irrevocable gift. Some of the key points, you can discontinue the charity. I think I said this before. If you want to contribute to a different charity, you can do that. The main thing is the growth potential. You're getting that professional management, and you're not forced to make any distributions. You have to make distributions, but they're very nominal, like I mentioned before. The cost to establish is minimal. It's the mutual fund management fee. So Fidelity or Vanguard, they have really nominal fees. I'm comparing this to what's called a private foundation, which we're going to go over in a few minutes. But over there, you want to contribute at least $1 million. There's a lot of administrative expenses, and it's more complex. You can name the donor fund whatever you want. So when they receive your grant, when you call Fidelity and you tell them to cut a check to MCMC, they may not know who's giving those funds. You could call the grant anything you want, ABC fund. Or you could put your name on it and then you get the recognition of the gift. You can make more contributions anytime you want. It's easy to set up. There's no self-dealing. I mean, let's say you're contributing you want them to cut a check to a charity where you work and you're getting compensated. That's not allowed. That'll be self-dealing. Now we're going to go to the next technique. It's called pooled income fund. To be honest with you, these are not that common, but it's in one of the techniques. You gift cash or securities into a pooled income fund. Pooled income fund has to be run by a charity. Like MCMC would have to be operating a pooled income fund. Now MCMC, they're not a fund manager, so they're going to work with a fund manager like a Vanguard possibly, and they're going to ask that manager to manage the assets. In return, the donor is going to receive income for the term of his life, and the charity, when the person deceases, is going to get whatever is left in the pooled income fund. In your handouts, there's some performance information about a donor-advised fund. So not a donor-advised fund, a pooled income fund. So you can take a look at that. Funds are very unpopular right now because interest rates are low. So when they put money in bonds and other debt, fixed income securities, they're not going to get much of a return. So honestly, I've never recommended one, but since we're going through this, I wanted to at least mention it. Again, once you give the money, you're not going to get it back. It's irrevocable. You're going to receive lifetime income, and when you decease, the charity receives the value in that account. It's not too complex. I mean, there's no trust. You're going to basically fill out a form, cut out a check to the pooled income fund, and you can choose what fund you want it to go into. Like in that handout, I think there's 3 or 4 different kinds of funds. The fees that you have are management fees for the funds, and again, you can designate which charity you want to receive the funds. And now I want to just compare a pooled income fund versus a donor advised fund. If you guys could just tell me what's one difference. How about the guy who fell asleep? No, I'm sorry. I'm just joking around. One difference obviously is the pooled income fund, you're receiving income, right? Over the term. The donor advised fund, you're not going to receive any income. That's one difference. Pooled income funds mainly work off bonds and fixed income, but the donor advised funds, they have growth funds, small cap funds, they have all kinds of funds. So that's another difference. Just give me a second here. Those are the primary differences. Next we're going to talk about private foundations. These are very complex. You want to put like a large dollar amount in. It could be called like the Naeem Foundation. Like Bill Gates has one, Warren Buffett has one. You can involve your family here. Like your family can get together and meet and discuss where you want to contribute your money. Not-for-profits, I mean, they do research and they need money, so if they see you're a foundation, they're going to write letters to you, and you can evaluate, where you want to give your money. Now, most private foundations, they don't engage in charitable activities themselves. Again, they'll contribute funds like to MCMC and other organizations, but they're not actually doing anything charitably. This is really good for a substantial gift. I mean, there's all kinds of admin fees and lots of process and rules. It's good if you have family. I mean, you can involve your kids in the foundation, and when they die, they can have involved their kids. This is a graph of the size of the foundations. So 63% back in 2011 were under $1 million. So to kind of just give you like size. Most of them are science and technology foundations. So they kind of like advance science efforts, research and development. Religion is actually only 2%. So of all these assets, only 2% is religion. Life insurance, I mean, there's not enough time to talk about everything, but that's a very good asset for charitable purposes. A good example is like if you contribute like a couple $100 every month to your masjid, if you put that towards a life insurance policy when you're deceased, I mean, they could get like $1 million. So I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Endowment funds, this is the last technique. There's 3 different kinds. The first kind is you donate money into an endowment fund. You specify the purpose, so you have control. And the endowment fund, hypothetically, if this institution had an endowment fund, they couldn't invade the principal. Any income that's generated, they'd be able to use, but the principal remains intact. The second one is it's just for a term. You specify the term. After that term ends, the institution get the principal and the income. And the last one is something that the not-for-profit has to create. Maybe they have extra funds or they have internal donations. They can create their own endowment fund, and the principal can be invaded. So the first one is only one where the principal has to maintain intact. If you want to meet with me, I'm not going to charge you anything for the first 2 trusts. For the other trust, probably won't charge anything either, but it depends on how complex. I'm hoping some people want to contribute to charity. We just talked about like high level, so we didn't actually talk about something in detail. So don't just rely on this. I think that's it. If you guys have any questions.
What do you advise for NCMC? Like what should they do, especially to start it?
I think donor advised fund is very attractive because you're donating money to like a Fidelity or a Vanguard. They have the expertise as to how to manage those funds. Now MC may not like that because the donor can decide when to grant the funds. So he could hold on to the funds for like 5 years, 10 years, hypothetically, and they won't like that. But it depends on what you want to do. The most simpler ones are the loans and the, what was the other one? The very first one we went over. One was the loan, one was the bargain sale. If you want to donate property to the masjid. I mean, it's up to them. I mean, honestly, I don't know their finances. But donor advised fund is very popular right now. Any other questions? Okay, that's all. I'm going to thank everyone for coming.
Thank you very much, Dr. Digest.
Yeah. You think it was too complex or too many techniques? What's your feedback on the seminar?
This is good.
Okay.
To start with, it's great.
Okay.
You can buy land and trust it over.
You can buy land, put it in a trust, but like the ones we talked about, there's like an income requirement. So the trustee is probably going to be required to sell that land and get something to generate income. But yes, you could contribute land. You're talking about just land, right? Yeah, you could do that. No problem. Thanks a lot.
So this may not be your expertise or what you were talking about, but I'm thinking of beginning opening like a charitable cause, like basically a school.
Okay.
So as far as to receive funds or when I do fundraising or something, do I limit that to only like? It feels like all the different options you gave as far as they were too high end.
Okay.
What I'm looking at is probably just like a few thousand.
Okay.
To get going.
Doesn't have to be millions of dollars in these techniques. So you want to start
a
a,
house or land or something like it could be very small. Or something.
but wait, so you want to start a school, right? You're trying to generate.
In Pakistan, so it will be very cheap.
Okay. But if you could repeat your question, then what specifically?
So basically, I'm thinking of like I shouldn't have to actually say, okay, I only want to get cash or get.
Okay, yeah.
So it could be any option,
Anything with some value.
some value, and then we go from there. As far as,
Yeah. I mean, the rules are different there.
because I will be I'll be converting it to, like some form of way to send the money there, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most common is the loan market loan.
Mhm.
If you have high net worth, then you could pursue the charitable. The owner-advised fund is also very good. You need startup money, that allows them to delay the distribution. You can sit on that for years.
So, I'm just looking to do this, for the first time, really,
Okay.
really small, so.
Will you work hard or have somebody else?
No.
Oh.
Do you need anything from here?
No, no, I'm
That I could
just.
assist you with?
What is it?
Anything I could assist you?
No, no, I'm good, I'm cool, I'm cool.
So, where are your office in?
One in Princeton, I can also meet people in Metro Park, North South Avenue. Then that'll be the closest to you.
So, obviously you are expert in trust.
Yeah.
How about do you practice other areas?
I do a lot of litigation, divorces, support, before getting fired, things like that. All my education is in business, corporate, state, corporate.
So obviously one of the person asked you can ask question. Obviously you know all of this, but you don't want to.
I don't want to go into that.
Then it will be another subject.
Yeah, we're pretty fast, honestly. That'll be a philosopher. Yeah, I'm pretty fast. Email me questions if you have any.
You don't need to speak on these, just sit there.
You can, go on to the, let me take a
Sure, please. So Naimbar, how long you practicing in New Jersey?
I used to be like a financial analyst and did a lot of taxes. And I went to law school in that time.
Where did you go?
For the JD, I went to Weidberg, and for the master's, I went to Master.
So you from this area?
Weidberg's in Delaware.
No, I know, but are you from this
No, I
area?
live in Princeton.
Stay close.
Yeah.
So we can get a train, go to Philadelphia and then.
Yeah, yeah. We're not very strong. New York race. Take a train. I think that's right, yeah.
So you grew up that area, Princeton?
I was born in Philadelphia.